Thank you for being here and welcome to my YouTube channel. I wanted to give you an update as to our cruise from last week. So I did a video a couple weeks ago explaining some of the things that you may need to know as it relates to travel. And one of the things was, bring your patience and your flexibility because you'll need it. So we had so in order to cruise on Royal Caribbean, you need a negative COVID test. So that was a little nerve-wracking, I have to admit. I had scheduled our COVID tests for 3 days prior to our cruise. And I had been hearing some rumors that was going to change to 2 days. And if you're trying to make an appointment for a COVID test, they fill up really quickly. I was able to find a COVID test for us 3 days prior to cruising at a CVS that was 20-25 minutes from our house. And we have local CVSs that are much closer than that, but I wasn't able to get an appointment at those. I had to go 20-25 minutes out of, not out of our way, but further away. And then I had gotten a little bit of rumor that they were going to change it to 2 days prior to sailing. So at that point, I had gone in to see if I could get a COVID test 2 days before. So 3 days before would have been Friday, 2 days before was Saturday. Again, at our local CVS, the ones that are closest to us, there was no availability. So I was able again to find a COVID test at the CVS that I had originally scheduled 3 days out. I kept the one for 3 days out just to be sure, to make sure that, nothing else changed and we were out of a COVID test. So as I got closer, I think it was maybe Wednesday or Thursday, I actually canceled the Friday test because I knew that, okay, things aren't going to change. We'll be all set. So we need to go on Saturday. And of course, the day before you travel, we were flying out on Sunday to Miami. So the day before you travel, everything is just that much more stressful because you have like so many things that you need to do. So I had a haircut scheduled. We had to drop the dog off either between 8 and 10 or 3 and 5 at where he was going to be boarded. So, so it was a haircut, we had to drop the dog off, and then we had to go for our COVID tests. So we did all that. So I had my haircut, we dropped the dog off, and then we went for our COVID test, which was so easy. We pulled up to the CVS. There was special parking spots for us. There was a little, like a little trailer set off to the side. They called me on my cell phone, checked us in. Then we went into the little trailer. We did the swipe of it was an antigen test, so we swiped on both nostrils, and then that was it, and we left. Then I was reading in the Facebook groups where everybody's getting their COVID test results like immediately, and we still hadn't had ours, and it was several hours later, and now I was starting to get nervous. We had gotten the call. They do call you and tell you that it's negative, so we knew that we were negative, but you need the documentation in order to take the cruise. So you have to print it out or be able to show it on your phone, and we didn't have that yet. So I called CVS, and they were really great. You can't call the Minute Clinic. It was, I was starting to panic because I thought it was going to be very difficult to get somebody on the phone. So I ended up calling the pharmacy. The girl from the pharmacy went over to the Minute Clinic. She came over and talked to me. I explained that, you had called us with our results, and that was great, but we need to have the documentation so that I can print it so that we can present it when we go on the cruise. So we lost connection. So of course, that happened. So we lost connection, and I had come back to my computer, and you have to sign up for MyChart through CVS, and that's where your results end up being stored. So I had come back to my computer and checked my chart, and my results were there. So she was able to go back to her desk, send them again, and then she even called me back to tell me that they had sent them again and we should have them. So by that point I had already printed them, so we were all set. So I was happy about that. So that was, it was just stressful because you just never know for sure if you have COVID or not. And we both are vaccinated. You know, you have to be vaccinated in order to take the cruise, but you just never know. So that was fine. We finished packing. We got up Sunday morning and we drove to Logan Airport in Boston, and we checked in. So, you know, I had been hearing horror stories about the long lines at TSA, and so for some reason my TSA pre-check wasn't showing up on my ticket, but it showed up on my husband's ticket. So I gave him all of our electronics so that he could go through TSA pre-check, and I just had to go through TSA with just my stuff. And of course I forgot to take my shoes off because I'm used to going through pre-check. So we got through security at Logan without a hitch. There were no long lines. It was a Sunday morning. And then by the time we got through TSA pre-check, it was probably 11:30, so we decided to have lunch. Our flight wasn't until 1:50, and I'm one of those people who tends to get to the airport early anyway, even during normal travel time. I don't want to be rushed. So, and you just never know what can happen. You never know if the computers are down, if there's a long line at TSA, if there's a long line to check your bag. You just never know. So I tend to get there at least 2 hours prior to my flight, domestic. So we had a little bit of lunch, and then we went to the gate and we waited to board our flight. Now, we flew American, and on the American app, they do offer sometimes when you can upgrade to first class. So obviously for an additional charge. And, you know, this cruise ended up being a cruise that I had already saved the money for, paid for the cruise. So I had decided a couple months ago, when I had seen the price go down on the upgrade, to actually upgrade us to first class. So I did that. So we were in first class flying down to Miami, and this was a very big plane. It was 2 seats, 4 seats, and then 2 seats on the other side. And then in first class, it was 1 seat, 2 seats, and then 1 seat on the other side. And then there was business class, and then there was extra leg room, and then there was coach. So in first class, they were actual pods. So it would be like if you were taking an overseas flight, a lot of times if you're in first class, they give you that you're in this pod, and the seats recline all the way down so that they're level, so it's easier to sleep. So we were actually in these pods, which we've flown first class before, but we had never been in a pod. So that was really interesting. And really comfortable, I have to say. So that was that. We flew down, we got in, and in fact, one of the reasons why I had said to my husband, I'm like, yeah, I really kind of want to just upgrade to first class, because we're flying later in the afternoon and you're more apt to get delayed the later in the day it gets. Like if you have a 6 o'clock flight, the chances of you being delayed or canceled, unless there's a crew issue, is really slim. But as the day goes on, there's more flights in the air, more things can happen with, you know, mechanical issues, crew issues, you tend to be delayed more in the afternoon. So I had said to him, I'd rather be delayed in first class than be delayed sitting in coach for 2 hours. And our flight ended up almost being delayed because there was a problem with the brakes, but then they came back and said it's not as bad as they had originally thought, so they told us that we could take off. So we ended up not being delayed, so that was fine. We got down to Florida, and we ended up staying at the Sheraton at the airport in Miami. The super convenient shuttle picks you up, brings you over to the hotel. So we stayed there, had dinner at the bar there, and then we kind of just crashed. we were pretty excited about being able to, or knowing that we were going to be able to get on a cruise ship the next day. So we got up the next morning. We had breakfast in the hotel restaurant, and packed up our stuff. And then we had one of the things that you have to do is you have to pick a time that you're going to board, and they are very specific and very strict at this point about when you can board, and you have to board in the time frame that you selected. So before, it was really easy because, if you wanted to go at, 12 o'clock, you could just go. They did have time frames that you had to, select to go. But a lot of times people would just go and they would let you on. But unfortunately, with COVID right now, they're being very strict because they don't want crowds at the port, which I can understand. So we had a 12 o'clock time that we could board. So I called for an Uber around, I think it was maybe around 10:15 or no, 11:15, which actually got us over there about 12 o'clock, a little bit before 12 o'clock. So Uber was super easy. Everybody in Florida that we came into contact with had a mask on. The Uber driver had masks on. Everybody at the port had masks on. In the hotel, everybody had masks on. When we flew down, we were in the airport, everybody had masks on. There were no issues with people wearing masks, none at all. So that was a good thing. So another thing, Royal Caribbean offers Royal Up, and what that does, it allows you to bid on a cabin higher than what you're in. So we were in an outside balcony cabin, and I could bid on a junior suite or the grand suite with 2 bedrooms. So they give you a range that you have to bid between. So like, for example, I think for the junior suite, it might have been like $125 per person was like the minimum bid. Don't quote me on that because I can't remember exactly what the minimum was. So it was like $125 per person you could bid, and if you won the bid, then you would be upgraded to the junior suite. So I had bid on the 2-bedroom grand suite, the 1-bedroom grand suite, and the junior suite. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, seriously, we don't need a 2-bedroom grand suite. We just don't. I mean, that would be really a waste of money. So I did bid on the 1-bedroom, and I did bid on the junior suite. I didn't win the bid for the 1-bedroom, which was fine because it was more expensive. But I did win the bid for the junior suite at $125 per person. So for an additional $250, we ended up being in a junior suite. We loved that room. So what that also offered us was separate boarding. So when we got to the pier, we got our luggage from the Uber. We checked it in with the porter. Always tip your porter. They take care of your bags. You just want to make sure that you give them a good tip, so that you know that your bags are going to get on the ship. Not that they would ever do anything to not put your bag on a ship. It's put your bags on the ship, but it's just a good, they work hard. So we walked over, and we were able to, because we were in a junior suite, we were considered in a suite, we were able to check in the suite level, so we didn't have to check in with everybody else, wait in the long line. We just walked through the suite. They checked us in. We were checked in. So at check-in, we had to show our vaccination card, our negative PCR test, and our passports. And then when we went up to the lounge, the suite lounge where you wait to board the ship, we had to we had to go through security with our bags, and then we had to show again our vaccination card, our passport, and our negative PCR, antigen COVID test. And then we sat there for maybe 10 minutes, and then they allowed us to board the ship. So we were on the ship by 12:30 latest. And then at that point, we were good. We were good to go. We didn't have to show our tests or our vaccination card again. And it was an amazing. It was really an awesome trip. Never ever did I feel unsafe on the ship. The ship was at a third of their capacity. All of the passengers, 12 and older, were vaccinated and all had negative COVID tests. Kids under 12 who can't be vaccinated had a PCR test 3 days prior and then a rapid test that day of boarding. Everybody wore masks inside. I can't tell you, though, how many times I left my cabin and forgot to take my mask. So many times. And Jim never forgot. My husband never forgot his mask. I guess I just don't get out much here. So never once did either one of us feel unsafe in a crowd or anything like that. The food was excellent. And I'll talk a little bit about the food more in another video and our experience within the cabin and on the cruise. But to get from Boston to Miami to the cruise ship, no problems at all. Coming home, we always walk off with our bags. We don't, put them out the night before and let them take them. We're the type of people, we're up early, we're ready to go, we're going to go. So we keep our bags in our cabin, and then we just walk off the ship with our bags as soon as we can on the last day of the cruise. So we did that. That was super smooth. There were no lines at customs. In fact, you walk up to a camera, it does facial recognition, and you just leave. So we did that. We left. We got a cab, went back to the airport. Unfortunately, we were not on first class coming home. But I did ask them at the terminal if they could fix my. So what ended up happening is on my American Airlines profile, my date of birth was wrong. So it had June instead of July. So I asked them if they could fix it. And they said, yes, they can fix it, but I had to go over and talk to, I was trying to do this where we check our bags, so I had to go over to customer service and have them work on it. And she was actually able to fix my date of birth, which I had tried to fix twice before. It had not been fixed. So she was able to fix that, give me my TSA pre-check, so I could go through TSA pre-check. I didn't have to go through the regular line. Although I have to say, I have been in Miami when several cruise ships have come in, and it is so crowded. Oh my gosh. It wasn't this time. So, you'd only have a couple of cruise ships going out at a time. They're all at reduced capacity. We came back on Friday and not a Saturday or Sunday, so there wasn't a long line at the Miami airport, which was great. We got there early. We had a bite to eat, and then we just waited at the gate for our plane. I did pay for extra legroom just to give us a little bit more space, but I have to say that coming home on the plane was probably the first time that I felt like there's a lot of people on this plane for 3 hours, and this just doesn't feel good. Not that anybody had any issues, not that there was, a lot of people coughing or nobody was wearing a mask or there was a fight about wearing masks. None of that happened at all. It's just me being like, this doesn't seem like a really great idea kind of thing. I'm sure that it's fine, but for me, and they talk about how they have different filters that are filtering the air constantly on the plane. So, I know that they're doing their best to keep everybody safe. For me, it was just one of those things where I was like, yeah, I would prefer not to have to do this right now, I guess. But, you know, if you have to fly, that's the thing. If you have to fly, if you want to go somewhere, you have, for the most part, you want to go on a cruise. A lot of times you have to fly to Florida to go on a cruise. So we're lucky that next month in October, we're actually cruising from Bayonne, New Jersey. That's a 4-hour drive for us. So we'll drive down so we don't have to fly into New Jersey or anything like that. So I'm excited about that aspect of it. But that was our travel experience. Would I do it again? Definitely. I felt really comfortable knowing that I have a vaccine, I have a negative COVID test. I was on a ship where 100% of the crew is vaccinated. The majority of the adults are vaccinated. Anybody over the age of 12 is vaccinated and had a negative COVID test. The kids that were on the ship had negative COVID tests. 2, in fact, 1 3 days before and 1 the day of. I apologize if you can hear that in the background. Somebody must be doing a little bit of weed whacking. Yeah, I felt definitely safe on the ship, for sure, and would definitely take another cruise. And the vibe of the ship was different. Like, I felt like people who were there know the value in not taking things for granted. Like, I will never take for granted again the ability to get on a plane and fly somewhere, get on a plane and go on a cruise. I will never take that for granted because that was taken away from us for a year and a half, almost 2 years. Last cruise that Jim and I were on was October in 2019. So being able to get on a plane and go somewhere, I will never take that for granted again. And I think a lot of people are feeling that way about a lot of different things that have affected their life during this 18 months of COVID. So that's my experience. I'm going to do another video to talk a little bit about our experience on the ship and our experience at CocoCay, because CocoCay was amazing. We had the best time. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. We'll be doing a little bit more of this type of video. I will also review the cruise that we're taking out of Bayonne and the experience of being able to drive to the cruise port, which will be awesome. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and if you have any questions, please make sure that you put your comments below, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So have a great day, and I will see you soon. Bye.